Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. What a time to be alive. I just feel like every time I come to these recordings, there's more and more material to sort through, to work through. I talked about this in my 2025 forecast episode, but these next few years, the dial gets cranked on our evolutionary opportunities. And we're really starting to see that materialize in the field. We're starting to see that these openings, these awakening points are getting condensed. They're getting closer and closer together. And so we have so much that is coming up as material when we navigate these sort of like intensified awakening periods. They come in waves. They've been happening since we were born. They've been happening since the beginning of time on this planet, but they're accelerating. So they're getting closer together. And what this looks like is it looks like waves of light or consciousness that enter our planets. And when they enter the field, they activate our systems. And what happens is the light activates the density within our physical bodies, our cells, within our consciousness. And so we're asked to tend to and look at all of the spaces and places within us that hold tightness, stagnation, density, emotions that are too big, that need to be held and seen. And when we experience these waves, it can be disorienting because we feel like there's so much to process. You know, it can be confusing to tend to all of it at once. It can activate fear, which can hijack our system and send us into sort of waves of survival. It can bring us into our reptilian brain that just wants to survive. And we can move from our shadow because we are afraid. Our subconscious is here to keep us alive. So what's stored in that space gets projected as reality. And we start to operate from the past and fear rather than the light, the faith, the deepening, the softness, and the safety that we can find in our physical bodies in the present moment. So the work during these times is to notice how your system responds to these waves of awakening. And when I say waves of awakening, it might sound confusing, but it's really when we're experiencing these huge waves of realizations, openings. You might see on the news that things are happening very quickly. You can see that things might not be happening in a way that you really resonate with or desire. And so we can read it as bad, and our systems can read it as a threat. This is an upgrade opportunity. It's an opportunity to not get sucked into the fear, to get sucked into that wave of density that comes from big change. And instead really deepen into the softening, the letting go, the trust, deepening into something that you can anchor to. That can look like you spending some extra time just being in your body, noticing the sensations, moving with intention, letting your body guide you in how it wants to release this information, how it wants to move with the current. You might need to shake. You might need to kick something. You might need to push up against a wall. You might need to find your power even when you feel powerless. Or you might want stillness. You might want to be held. It's so important that we move with these waves. It's important that we lean into the change. We lean into the transformation. We're not gripping or resisting. And I don't mean that you have to like or agree with what's unfolding. There are many things that are concerning to me. But what it means is that we must befriend change. Lean into, work with, look at it straight in the eyes, and face what's unfolding. And of course, that requires our own sense of inner safety and security, something we can anchor to, something we can stay connected to as we move and change. I know I bring this up a lot, but I always think of kelp and how it can be so anchored into the ocean floor or into a rock, but it still moves with the currents. It still has flexibility and fluidity. It's able to stay rooted as it shifts and changes with its environment, with what the ocean is doing, how it's changing and shifting. So let's be the kelp. Let's lean into what's rooting and grounding for us while being and remaining open to what's transforming. I've mentioned this before, but it's so important to remember that we are at the dawn of a golden age. And a golden age is a time of rapid expansion when our consciousness is expanding and changing, and when what's unfolding around us feels unfamiliar. We have unprecedented events happening every day, it seems. Things are occurring all the time around us. Anything we try to grip to will create suffering. Impermanence is our medicine. The contrast is so significant right now, the light and the dark. But we get to choose which one we lean into. If we look back throughout history, different golden ages of humanity, so much shifted significantly. What survived was adaptable. And I think adaptability is our deepest medicine during these times. We can either see it as the birthing of a new world or the death of an old world. They're both true. And I see it as both. We have to be able to hold that nuance, to hold that liminality, the not knowing. We cannot grip to the old world. We can mourn and grieve it, and there's so much mourning happening. There's so much grief being unlocked within our individual and collective consciousness. But there's also space to lay frameworks for the new. We can adapt. We can evolve. We are both midwives and death doulas at the same time. And so we can hold space for one another when we're in a specific part of our process. Some of us may be death doulas right now, holding space for and honoring what's been lost, moving through deep portals of grief. And some of us may feel like midwives, holding space for this new life, rebirth. You may be both at once. We know that the seeds of new beginnings sprout in the ashes of what's been lost. We can see that here in California. There's so much that's been lost. And after our rains, we'll see the sprouts of new life. Nature doesn't stop. And our evolutionary journey never ends. This is the true medicine of Pisces. It dissolves the boundaries between death and rebirth. We are the past and future, honoring our past ancestors as we create new life for our future ancestors. This is a messy space, this dawn of this golden age as the old and new collide. It's a time of great unknown. We don't know what it will look like on the other side. But we must find faith and patience and compassion. We must find our deepest anchor point. And this is what I notice most out of times of great change, times of great grief, times of great fear, is that there's also an opportunity within this to dig deeper, to find that point that's consistent and reliable. When we enter these descent periods, you might not be in a descent. You might be in a liminal space. You might be in the top of your journey. You might be expanding rapidly. You might be feeling really great. But if you are in a descent, if you feel like you are being met with ending after ending, shadow and challenges, at the bottom of that space, there is an anchor point. And it's where you can find your faith in something that's steady, that's reliable, that's true for you. It might be the earth. It might be your morning walk. It might be your morning tea or coffee. It might be your belief in God. Whatever it is, tune your practices to that anchor. Let it hold you as you ebb and flow with the currents. And once you feel grounded, you can move and mobilize from that place. You can organize and act in ways that feel rooted, not from fear, but from faith. For this time, this North Node in Pisces transit is the journey from fear to faith. When I sat down to record this episode, I was looking at the transits, looking at my ephemeris, and just sort of planning out the week. And it's an intriguingly quiet week. And what we know is that when there is quiet space within a greater change portal, there's oftentimes finally space for things to surface. This is true for trauma processing as well. When we have been in it, when we have been in survival, and we all of a sudden land in a space that feels safe or quiet or secure, the emotions begin to surface. The fear begins to surface. We finally have space to process. So this feels like a bit of a pause before the storm, quiet before the storm, a still point before we enter into eclipse season. Pisces season begins on February 18th. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It's connected to the 12th house. It is the end and the beginning point. But the beginning of Pisces especially is about death. It's about letting go, softening, surrendering, reckoning with the ending. We bring to this point all of the lessons we've learned through the zodiac, all of the different signs and houses, what they've presented to us, what we've learned about the self. And this point of Pisces is where the self begins to dissolve so we can start again. And this is the journey of life. I've been doing some really deep work with clients lately. It's this dissolution of self and the spiral of life. When we go through these evolutionary layers, we start with the integration of the parts that we've lost. And then we get to the end of a spiral point, and we realize we have to once again let go of even that sense of self, that layer of identity that we've created and what we've attached to, so that we can be born again, so that we can create an even more authentic connection to self, which we'll eventually let go of again. This is the medicine of Pisces. If you feel like you are floating not sure where you're headed, not sure what's on the horizon, you're in a perfect place. This is where we have to dissolve the ego and our desire to attach to or to control what's happening. Each phase of the spiral holds medicine. In Aries, we develop a sense of self. We develop an ego. In Pisces, we dissolve it. So we are at the end point of the spiral point on this level of our evolutionary journey. And it's from this place where new energy, new chapters, new ideas, new beginnings can emerge. I always say that Pisces is the tomb and the womb. It's the end point and the beginning point. But in the beginning of Pisces, we must reckon with death and loss. We must let these versions of ourselves decompose to become compost for the new beginnings. So Pisces season begins, which means that we are at an end point. We are letting go of something. We are surrendering to this process of death and rebirth, kneeling before the ashes of what was so that we can plant the seeds of what's to be. This is an incredibly powerful and potent time. This Pisces season is very significant because we have the North Node transiting through Pisces until 2026. The North Node, which is our destiny, has been meeting with Neptune. It will meet with Saturn again in April. So it's bringing to the surface our deepest karmic secrets so we can unlock these spaces. The North Node is asking us to go deeper, to ask more questions, to understand why. It's really pushing us to align with our destiny. It's pushing us to heal, to grow, to evolve. This is a very key karmic point, a karmic realignment, where we are being asked to dream bigger and let go more. The North Node is guiding us to trust more, to trust our own intuitive guidance, to trust that universal flow, that current, to embrace the healing that's available to us right now, to trust the divine timing. Pisces in Virgo is the axis of the healer. Pisces unlocks healing that we don't have access to necessarily on the physical plane. It opens our consciousness. It dissolves boundaries, and it gives us an opportunity to peer beyond our limits and walls. It gives us an opportunity to merge with future timelines, to really sense and feel and touch what's available to us outside of our ego, outside of our walls of comfort and familiarity. The key, the medicine, is trust and faith and surrender, letting go, softening into the unknown. During this time, this period of time, especially this Pisces season, before we enter eclipse season, we're going to be asked to release what we're gripping to. Release the Virgo shadow. Where you have Pisces and Virgo in your chart is where you will receive a major upgrade over the next 18 months. Where you have Pisces is where you're being pulled into your destiny, into your greatest evolutionary healing. Where you have Virgo, the house that you have Virgo in, is where you're going to be asked to surrender, to let go, to deepen into trust and faith, to soften. Our relationship to control is highlighted at the moment, where we grip, where we try to control or manipulate timelines, where we try to persuade others or maintain a level of safety within our systems by directing our external life, where we grip to outcomes, where we have expectations that are rigid, where we operate from fear. This is all up. I feel this so intimately in my own personal journey. I have a South Node in Virgo and a North Node in Pisces natally. So I'm in my nodal return. I know I've mentioned this already. But yeah, it's up, it's shadowy. It is revealing to me where I subtly or not so subtly control my life, and oftentimes the people in it. So this is so much of the work that I've done in my own, along my own path. But what's happening right now is it's getting into the cracks and crevices, and it's really revealing where this patterning has infiltrated all of my actions, all of my patterns within my life. So I almost see it as this special light that's shining into the cracks and crevices and showing us where we have even just a little residual energy of this need for control in our lives. I've been doing some really deep work with my clients lately on finding where they are holding this patterning of control. And it's so subtle and so manipulative oftentimes that we can't even see it. And so when we get into that space and we bring softness and safety and surrender, it unlocks all the opportunities that we've been holding ourselves back from because we've been trying to grip to a certain outcome or to what has been. But when we let go, all of a sudden it opens up the potentials that we've been closed off to. What's meant for you will only find you with open palms. And if our hands are busy with gripping and controlling outer circumstances, they can't remain open to receive the miracles that are swirling around us always. So what are you gripping to? What are you trying to control? What are you trying to protect yourself from or others from? Sometimes in the midst of great change, I notice my jaw clenching. My shoulders are tight. I'm physically resisting the change because it's uncomfortable. And it's so much safer to stick with what I know, with what's familiar. The patterns that keep me small and safe. But I know that what's meant for me can only find me when I'm open, when I'm surrendered, when I'm softened, when I'm ready to receive, when I have space to receive. Contraction keeps us tight and small. It keeps us closed off. The openness signals to the universe that we're ready. We're open. And this is important to cultivate this practice, to deepen into this awareness within yourself now. At the beginning of Pisces season, we've entered in the eclipse window, so it's important to cultivate this now before we head into our first eclipse on March 14th. It's a full lunar eclipse in Virgo. So it's going to reveal to us where we are trying to control subtly or not so subtly, what we are gripping to, what we are cutting ourselves off from or resisting. This is an incredibly, incredibly potent healing time, but it will bring you into the vastness, the mystery. The theme of endings is even more strong because both Neptune and Saturn are completing their journey through Pisces until the fall. So they're bringing up completion points, endings. We also have the eclipses along this axis as well throughout this year. So in many ways, Pisces is the medicine of 2025 and our relationship with the unknown, with endings and beginnings, with mystery, the void. This is where our work lies this year. And this Pisces season is bringing it up to really give us an opportunity to confront where we resist this medicine. These waves of consciousness, this current of consciousness, waves of light will continue to come in. That is the reality of being in human form during this time at the dawn of a golden age. When we think about trees, the deeper the roots, the more likely it's able to weather big storms. And trees are great metaphors for now. When we think about these deeply rooted trees, they don't get blown over in big storms as often. Trees have branches and leaves that dance with the wind. That's what we need right now. That's the medicine of being flexible and fluid, being softened in times of great change. Trusting our own intuition, releasing perfectionism, which is a shadow aspect of Virgo, the need for things to be a certain way, and trusting in this divine flow. Pisces is the vast, mysterious ocean. It's where all boundaries dissolve and we return to one consciousness, its completion and gestation. It represents compassion and unity, dissolving the contrast, dissolving the separation or the duality. The shadow of Pisces is escapism, the lack of boundaries, spiritual bypassing, victimhood, confusion or illusion, escaping reality through addiction. Because Pisces feels so much and it's so vast, oftentimes the shadow is this contraction into escapism or disassociation. So we have to work hard right now to stay in our bodies, to stay connected to what's real and tangible, to stay connected to our power, to not get lost in this vast ocean and forget that we have a central force within us that is empowered, that is clear, that is truthful, that is dependable. And because Pisces is the healer, it is a huge opportunity to do some quantum leaps in your own work. So as always, I kind of bring it back down to the basics, the simple things that we can do and utilize to stay anchored and rooted and grounded, and also dance with the waves or the wind, returning to your routines and rituals and practices that feel nourishing, that help you connect deeply to yourself, to source, to the earth. The energy is going to continue to speed up as we near eclipse season. It will probably invite you to find new routines and practices during this season. And I encourage you to pivot with that, to adapt, to evolve, to remain fluid, to remain flexible. That is the medicine of now. And to befriend the unknown. You might not get answers to what you're seeking until April, May, June even. Can you find comfort within this space? Can you trust divine timing? Can you trust that you'll receive the answer when it's time? I think so often we try to grip to the timelines that we see as most aligned, that we forget that there's a whole force co-creating with us, and that force might have a higher, wider, even better perspective on what's best for us. So sometimes when we're trying to grip to what we think is best, we lose touch with a timeline that's even better. So what if in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, we are at a place that is better than we could have ever imagined because we let go of the need to control, manipulate the timeline. That we let ourselves dream a little bigger and trusted the current of life that brought us to that place. The card that I pulled for this week from the Untamed Elemental deck is the Crystal card, and it's all about self-healing. It says that crystal is an instrument of transcendence, an iconic talisman of the journey inward. Forged deep in the belly of earth, she emerges clear and brilliant, emanating form and balance through her highly ordered expressions of the infinite. Her sacred geometries hold the planetary codes and cosmic blueprints of universal existence. She responds to your intentions to conserve, direct, transmit, and transmute energy. She is a powerful healing ally. Crystal sends the message that self-healing is underway. You can amplify this progress by visualizing your wholeness and aligning with the curative frequencies freely given by Earth. Self-healing is a powerful choice. When its visualization is married with intuitive listening and a commitment to self-kindness, improvement becomes inevitable. If you choose to work with a physical crystal, trust her purity and light will guide you home to yourself. When it's balanced, you have faith in Earth's energies and your ability to heal yourself. When it's imbalanced, You fear the body and fear the earth. To bring into balance, work with crystals. Walk steadily on the earth. That feels very appropriate. And thank you for being here, for your presence. Thank you for always sharing, sending messages about how the episode landed for you. It truly, truly means the world. I love and adore all of you, and I'm so glad you're here. Spreading the word helps me so much. So if you feel called, please share with friends, share on Instagram, social media. I'm so grateful for all of you. I do have a discount code for the red light box that I use, and I've been using it a lot lately, using it really just to support the healing process. I think the tools and resources we can use right now to really help our physical bodies in particular process this immense healing portal that we're in. It's amazing. So that is linked in the show notes. The red light box that I use, it helps with inflammation. It just helps to sort of restore the body's natural healing abilities. I use it when I'm feeling some inflammation arise. I use it when I'm feeling particularly activated in certain areas. It just kind of like breaks down. I mean, this is how I see it energetically, but it sort of breaks down the resistance that we have to healing that portion. Also be on the lookout for my North and South Node course that's coming soon over the next few weeks. I think it's going to be super helpful in really getting clarity around what you're here to do, what you're here to heal, how you can evolve and move through this timeline with more ease, the medicine you're here to really anchor into. So, love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I'll talk to you soon.